Good afternoon and welcome to Stitch Rowing's Design Studio, and today we're going to be talking about dye sublimation kit and in particular fluorescent dye sublimation kit. So we're going to take a look at some products and talk about how we can be using fluorescent kit to make you more visible and safer on the water, and how we can incorporate fluorescence into existing club designs to make you safer on the water and but still retaining your brand identity. So let's have a quick look at fluorescent dye sublimation. Well, what is it? Well, we now have the ability to dye sublimate our garments in fluorescent colours. We've historically always done dye sublimation, but we need a specific machine to produce the high neon colours, such as high-vis yellow and high-vis pinks and oranges and greens and things like that. And we now have that piece of kit here in-house in our production facility in Malvern. So for those of you that aren't familiar with dye sublimation full stop, basically what we do is we have a specialist printer that prints our design from what we have on our computer screen out onto special paper using special inks. We then take it down to what is effectively a gigantic heat press down in our production facility, which runs at 200 degrees centigrade, and this paper then gets put onto white fabric, inserted into the heat press at a temperature of about 200 degrees centigrade, and that converts the ink into a gas and actually dyes the fabric. So basically whatever we choose to put into our garment design will then be replicated onto the fabric. So what does this mean and what can that do? Well, anything really. The basic rule of thumb is if we can get it onto a computer screen, we can then produce that design in a garment, be it an all-in-one pair of leggings, a t-shirt, or now even a splash jacket with our new Varsity splash jacket range, which I'll come on to talk to a little bit about in a short while. But yeah, this all happens in-house in our production facility in Malvern, as I say, and we'll now have a quick look at why dye sublimation, and in particular fluorescent dye sublimation, is important. And it's because there continue to be many head-on collisions between rowers, causing pain and bruising and sometimes boat damage. And that can be avoided by wearing clothing that makes you conspicuous and makes you easy to be seen whilst you're out on the water. British Rowing actually recommend that rowers wear high-vis kit above the waist, particularly if you're in a single or sculling or rowing at the bow. It makes you easier to be seen and makes it easy for others to avoid hitting you. So yeah, this has been traditionally handled by whoever's sat in that prime position, either wearing a high-vis tabard or some sort of high-vis sort of t-shirt, which sort of detracts away from that club look, the club branding that everybody's so keen on having. There's nothing sexy about a high-vis tabard. There's no getting away from that. But hopefully by doing a bit of fluo dye sublimation, we can either subtly add an element of high-vis for you, or we can make a garment that is, you know, completely out there and but it still looks good and still retains all the performance properties that our garments normally carry. So we'll have a look at some sort of prepared designs here. These are two products here. This is the Varsity splash jacket. As I say, this is a new one for us, and I'll come on again to talk a bit more about this in a second. But yeah, so there's some Varsity splash jackets there and some all-in-ones. And as you can see, they're nice and bright. They carry an element of design to them. We can do, as I say, pretty much anything on that front. But these aren't going to be to everybody's tastes. We appreciate that, and a lot of clubs are going to be sat there saying, well, yes, we need an element of high-vis, but we still want to retain, you know, our normal looking kit, and how can we all incorporate high-vis into that? So having a look at how we do that, we don't believe that high-vis and fluo sublimation has to mean a crazy design. We can put this in a subtle way that allows you to retain your brand identity and keeps you looking smart and visible at the same time. So we're just going to have a look at some stock designs that I've put together here. We have hundreds of these stock designs, but these are just a few that I've picked out just for the sake of this this video, just to give you an idea of what we can do. So looking at this this new jacket, this is the new Varsity splash jacket. This is new for us. We're going to be launching in sort of August, September time. It's 100% polyester outer with a mesh lining. It does all the things that you would expect a normal splash jacket to do, water resistance, all that sort of stuff. And the main key thing for us with this new product is the fact that it is sublimatable. So it allows us to do an awful lot more in terms of design. Traditional splash jackets are just very much cut and sew panels, you know, and they're single colours and all that sort of stuff. So this new Varsity splash jacket absolutely allows us to bring to the fore the design elements that keep you looking smart, and hopefully with this high vis as well we can keep you looking safe. So yeah, we'll just have a look at changing some of these up. So if we take this red and black one to start off with, we could introduce a bit of subtlety into this one just by changing these two panels, or that panel down there, just to add a bit of high vis in there. It's not a lot, but it's enough to just sort of add an element of it into that design. The next one, obviously we've got a plain navy and amber garment here, and we could look to introduce some side panels to the arms here. We could make those yellow, we could make them pink. If we wanted to retain a bit of amber within the arm stripe as well, then we could make that one completely amber there, like that. And if we wanted to add something to the collar, this collar is completely sublimatable as well. We can make these different colours if required, the front, the inner and the outer. So we could go with the inner collar there and make that high vis at the same time. That's always a nice one, the collar, because the inner collar actually wraps around the outside of the outer collar, as you can see there. So we can add a little bit of subtlety. If we wanted to do a bit more, we could just flick that back to navy, and we could select the outer one and just make that completely pink, retaining a bit of navy on the inner and where it wraps over at the top. So yeah, that's that particular garment. And then on this design, for instance, if we wanted to go completely high vis on the back for real impact, we could add an element of yellow into that one, or even pink. But say we suggested that we wanted to change the arms, we can do that as well. So we could go on this one completely high vis yellow, and that just makes it again a lot more visible than what it was to start off with, while still retaining the core elements of the garment design still in there. Alright, so that's the Varsity splash jacket. We'll come on now and just have a look at some all-in-ones that we've done previously. So again, these are stock designs. This is one that we did for Windsor Boys School, which is this one here. And we could do a number of things on this one. We could change these outer panels, which were originally amber, to a high-vis yellow. Or if we wanted to stick with those and just change the inner of that one, we could go pink on there. Again, it's subtle, it's still retained the branding, it's not out there and in your face. So yeah, hopefully that works for people. And on this one, this was something that we did for Selwyn College in Cambridge. So again, if we were just looking to add a bit of subtlety to this one to make it stand out a bit more, we could add some high-vis panelling just to the side here, and we could also change the binding. A lot of our garments, it is a case of, you know, if you want to change a specific part of it, we can do that. You're not just tied into doing this main block panel here or whatever. We can subtly add it in. So that would be there. And this one, let's have a look at just changing these side stripes up. So we could go yellow on that one if we work on this one here, and we could add a bit of pink in there. Or if we wanted to, we could go completely pink just on that back panel, leaving the front panel still black, but obviously changing the back panel means when you sat in the boat that's visible as you're coming down the river. Okay. And last but not least, we've just got some t-shirt designs that we can have a play around with. So we could add in the end of the cuff here just to make that nice and bright. On this one, we've obviously got the side panels in here that could go high vis. And on this one we've got some dots, and that sort of gives you an idea of, as I say, we're not limited in terms of what we can do. Pretty much anything can be changed to suit your needs and requirements. So yeah, hopefully you've enjoyed that sort of brief introduction into high-vis printing, and if you have any further questions, please feel free to get in touch. There are sort of videos on dye sublimation on our website, which is at www.stitchrowing.com, or feel free to give us a call in the office, and we're happy to talk to anybody about anything. So yeah, the contact number for the office is 01684 899 250. Thanks for listening, and I'll speak to you again soon. Cheers. Bye bye.